Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. And if people trickle in, that will be okay. Could I get someone to volunteer as a designated note taker?
I can do it.
All right, thank you very much, Jericho. The first item is are there any new faces or anyone who would like to introduce themselves to the working group?
Yeah. I'm coming.
Oh,
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you twice.
All right. How about now?
I can hear you once.
Awesome. Hi, I'm Deshaun. I'm here from the Spring Advocacy team over at VMware. And I'm just excited that I made it into the meeting before everybody was gone.
Well, we're happy to have you. And
Wait, why can't I hear you?
oh no.
There we go.
Okay.
I can hear you now.
Well, we're happy to have you.
Wonderful.
Let's start out with reviewing any outstanding RFCs. I'm going to ask questions about any of the ones that are drafted, and if there's any comment or commentary on them, I'll happily open them. RFC decoupled dependencies from Buildpacks. This one is on pause as we sort out standardized Paketo dependency metadata format because that will take out a chunk of that. I don't have any comments on this, so I think we can move on from that. Proposal to publish multi-arch build packs. I see a couple of people that I know who have been advocating for multi-arch build packs, so it might be, do we want to open this up and open it for discussion, or would we prefer to save that for more of an open mic discussion or topic question at the end?
Yeah, I don't want to throw anything off. Let's get through the other stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a big part of my passion.
Excellent. Next up, we have proposal to add Graal VM and update Graal VM CE build pack. I think that the name of this has evolved not too long ago. And it looks like there is some relatively active work happening here, and it looks like it has approval from Dan. So I might reach out to other Java maintainers and see if they can take a look at this and we can get this through. Does anyone have any updates they'd like to give on this? All right. Next up, we have codify creation of new maintainer groups. This actually has all of the approvals it needs. We were having a discussion with Dan, Jan, and myself. I was hoping that Jan was going to be here today to discuss some of his opinions on using RFCs as like the main form of communication or any call to vote. Potentially wanting to offload some of that more back and forth conversation to a different medium and then finding other ways to codify things. Unfortunately, it does not appear that he is here right now. So if that is still the case for the next working group meeting, I will study up on some of the questions and present that the best I can to the working group, just so that we can get this moving. Okay, next up we have standardized Paketo dependency format. I think that I have responded to pretty much everything on this. I just cleaned up a response that I realized I missed last time around extensions, and the rest of these are kind of more open questions and around the bike shedding, and so I'm not going to say that I've definitively solved any of those. So I think that another round of just checking over this RFC and seeing if there's any final issues, and I will try and come to some resolutions on some of these open bike shedding issues. And then hopefully we can get this closed out so that we can get back to focusing on the larger RFC at hand. Okay. Are there any other comments on this? Nope. Okay. And then finally, a very new RFC. I have not had a chance to look at this. I don't know if anyone here has had a chance to look at this. It appears to be a proposal in order to make people more aware that the Bionic stack is fully deprecated, even though Bionic itself has been deprecated for a while and has been deprecated by Canonical for quite some time as well. Potentially building in a structure to announce to people when our stacks become deprecated. I've said this, but I also haven't had a chance to read this yet. So that's what I'm inferring from just scanning it really quickly. So please feel free to take a look and put down any comments. Awesome. Is there anything, I went through those relatively quickly. Is there anything that people would like to go back and discuss?
Go ahead, Deshaun. I think you wanted to talk about multi-arch.
I'm just here, working on the whole multi-arch stuff. This is, yeah, it seems like it's, I don't know what, it's got a bunch of momentum behind it. You know, I kind of feel like it's a tidal wave metaphor where like there's just, it's out there, it's coming, and there's going to be a wave of demand. So this is where I'm just spending time, and I don't know what the right way to do things is. So I'm really still just trying to learn the process. But yeah, it's moving forward. I'm excited about where it is today. I'm overwhelmed by how many people are using it and reaching out for feedback and all that. So yeah, I don't know where to go or where to even start. The thing that I thought was a good next step was to just I had the Java multi-architecture build pack and move that under the Paketo, the community build packs as a start. But then the stack was created, and now yeah, we're trying to go and do the next step where I'm actually doing it a more difficult way than what could be done. So I want to do it the right way. So I'm kind of like looking where I can plug in and not step on toes, and where I can help out. That's really the main thing, is I want to help move this forward, and I have time and passion around it.
Nice. You're not the only one, so this is great. Yeah, I mean, I'll just give a quick update. So, like you said, we have the stacks. We have a stack that's multi-arch, and now we need to create a builder that's multi-arch. And I have a script that I wrote that required a bunch of workarounds because there's not really a bug in Pack, but Pack has some hard-coded AMD 64 platform defaults that basically break my script, and so I had to like write in rebases and stuff so that I could use the right image, because basically it was always using AMD 64 no matter what I did. So I have a PR that I'm going to be proposing today to fix that problem. So that will help us move forward. I think next step is we need to create multi-arch build pack list builders. Like I started looking at Jammy Tiny Builder, and then I was like, yeah, it can't have any build packs because none of the build packs will be multi-arch. So if we create multi-arch build pack list builders as a starting point, starting with Jammy, and then that will allow, in theory, some testing with that builder for building the build packs. That's my thought. That was like my next step. And I'm open to input or thoughts or whatever, if that doesn't seem like the right path.
I do think that the best next step, if you're trying to develop build packs, is a build packless builder, because it's the only way that you can actually like in the existing pack infrastructure, it's like really the only good way to fuse a build pack to a stack and actually create like a functional build piece. And so you would be able to then like, I guess, compile a build pack that has AMD 64 support. I don't know how you would. I'm not particularly familiar on how you would build out the sort of building both binaries and installing them into the same build package as that would stand right now, but like you could at least have an AMD 64 compatible tar file that you could point at and say like, yes, this is a build pack that we've cross compiled correctly, or however that would look.
Yeah, actually, what you just mentioned, I feel like that might be a good place for Deshaun to help, because like right now I'm really focused on builders. I know that the proposal is for publishing multi-arch build packs, but like you need the builders in order to kind of test everything. But we're making progress on that, and like I have a test builder that could be used, but I think if Sean wants to help out specifically in Java, like that, it would be good to get an understanding of like how do we do that. And then I haven't really read the RFCs yet for the metadata, but I feel like those things are all relevant, and so following whatever things you guys have come up with in order to actually implement this stuff. But basically, I think that's a starting place, and then I'm happy to kind of meet with anybody, or Deshaun, if you want to, sync up after this. I'm happy to kind of like help bring you up to speed on where I'm at and where you can contribute. I've copied quite a bit of what you've done anyway, so.
I think that's awesome. I would love to. I do. I'm a little tight today, but I want to dig in. So with the multi-arch builder, right? My approach is like, hey, I do one for ARM64, and then I'm just grabbing the Paketo AMD 64 one and sticking them together so that you pull things. But now we have the stack is multi-arch. My understanding is in the build pack, if I'm just adding the ARM64 dependency data, I'm going to pull in the right dependencies. And the way that we're doing that, the way that I'm doing it is I'm doing a search replace. Like, hey, where I see AMD 64, I'm going to swap it out with ARM, and that's how I build my dependencies. But there's a tool that populates those dependencies, and that's the one that we need to poke on in order to do this, because I'm doing it across all of the build packs inside of Tiny and some of the ones inside my base.
Yes,
so that we can do that.
So I think that we would have to make like kind of two, probably if we were to not like if it sounds like it's moving faster than I was necessarily aware of, so maybe if before we are able to get a standardized metadata field, finding some sort of hot patch in to like mark architecture, which is basically what we're proposing. And I think that what you would have to do is like modify the sort of dependency building and fetching just sort of logic in order to say like, hey, especially for focusing on Tiny, like I'm more familiar with Go, so like, hey, in Go, when you go to fetch a new dependency, you need to fetch like data looking for an AMD 64 one and mark it as such, and then an ARM 64 one and mark it as such, and then we would have to probably like write some amount of logic to like filter based on which architecture you're on. I think that Go provides you what architecture you're on, so you could pretty easily figure that out as well. I don't think that it's like that big of a lift, but we would have to change a couple of things, like kind of just close to how we format our dependencies.
Okay.
But I think that they're relatively minor things. I think it would be literally like this entry needs to be marked as AMD, ARM 64. This entry needs to be marked AMD 64, and then that I think that's the level of logic that we probably need to figure out.
So I agree that the build packless builder should be actionable today, because we should have all the infrastructure we need to like modify the existing jammy, tiny buildpackless builder. And that should just work, right? Assuming that like jam can do what it needs to do and pack can do what it needs to do, we should just be able to modify the existing builder to publish like the manifest, right, for the ARM64. The same way we did the stack. It's the same image, it's just two manifests, right? The dependency stuff, like I would be pretty nervous about making any sort of like commitments before we've decided on the format for the metadata, which is the RFC that we were going to talk about, right?
Mhm.
So we can poke around with stuff, but I don't think we can realistically ship any build pack with like support for this until we've decided what the interface is, because it might change and that build pack is never going to work again because the libraries, packet, whatever, are not going to support that. So like we can hack around as much as we want, but like we already are hacking around, right? Like that, we're not how to keep hacking around. We're talking about how to like get it to production. So I think the order is like build packless builder. That just has to happen because it's going to enable testing. It's going to make like it's going to step in the pipeline. Then we need to figure out the RFC to decide what's the metadata going to look like to support multiple stacks, or decide that we're not going to care. But then that locks us into supporting the current situation basically indefinitely, right? And then, or at least until we have an RFC that accounts for the changes that we've just decided to commit to. And then, as far as said, modifying the dependency compilation code to, or downloading code, right? The one that writes the buildpack toml entries. That's for Tiny, it's only Go and Java. We don't have any Java maintainers on this call, so I don't know the scope of like modifying the way that they do their dependencies, but for Go, it's not going to be that complicated. There is like an edge case here, which I don't think is going to impact the open source because we don't ship offline build packs. But if anyone is modifying these build packs to like ship their own offline ones, like you're going to want to think about how multiple Arch dependencies impacts that, because you're going to end up like with a n times n bloat. But it's not an open source problem because it's not something we support in the open source. And then once we've done the build pack, then we can go back and do the build pack full builder, right? The normal jammy tiny builder. So one, just kind of while I'm talking, Deshaun, mostly for your context, the initial approach we were going to take was to sort of like really round out like the stack level first, like kind of dot our I's, cross our T's, and make everything super solid on the stack, like rebuild the ARM64 stack whenever there's ARM packages, decouple it from the AMD packages. However, I think we maybe about 2 months ago decided that that was like a nice to have, and instead we should focus our efforts on getting that thin thread all the way through. So build packless builder, build pack full builder in Tiny. And then maybe at that point we can go back and dot our I's, cross our T's across the whole thin thread, and then use that for expanding to base and full. So like to me, and I haven't dug into this too much, but to me, the like next question that needs answering is like how do we make a build packless builder, or how do we extend the existing build packless builder to have multiple architecture manifests?
Where is the existing build packless builder?
I can grab it. It might take me a second, but
so that part I have a solution to. I just need to actually like how do we create a multi-arch builder, right? Like that's what we're talking about specifically for the build packless ones. So I have a solution for that using like buildx and shell scripts. That like I looked at what you're doing in your GitHub workflows, and it would be fairly easy to just change the part where you're creating the release to use this other script. So that I feel like that will get us pretty far, but I need to have the upstream change that I talked about get merged and then shipped, and then a new binary for pack, and a new image created and released, so that we can actually take advantage of it. Otherwise, it will work today, but I'll have to include some workarounds that are ugly that I don't want to. But to go back to what you were saying, if Deshaun's going to be looking at the build packs and like how I'm just kind of like trying to think about how we split the work up, if you will. But if he's looking at the build packs, I haven't looked at that at all, and I think that we would probably need to like whatever you fleshed out in the metadata RFC, and maybe we can just go and like try it without doing too much more thought, and then see how it works, and then that might generate more discussion or whatever. But not that it's finalized, but like I don't see how else we can move forward without like just trying something. And
Yeah.
so, anyways, that's my 2 cents.
So I think it'd just be wise, or maybe a good, let's sync up and talk and pair and see where we meet, where the gaps are, and yeah, you can kind of fill me in, because the thing I don't understand is any of the supply chain stuff. I've tried, and mine is Circle CI, right? Very minimal. So yeah, I want to do it right, and I want to help, and I'm not submitting CFPs for 2024. So I'd really like to bring this home. So this is me volunteering, and now that I've seen your face, and now you're gonna wish you never met me. I'm gonna bug you, and I'm like, hey, can we hang out? And it might be at 2 o'clock in the morning, it might be 2 in the afternoon. I'm like, hey, I think I got something. Can we hang out?
Sounds good. That's usually what I say too.
Behind me, I have ARM 64 and AMD 64, and the whole goal is to get a K-Pack where I can just build stuff, and it doesn't care where it's going to run, right? So beyond the multi-architecture builder, I want to deliver multi-architecture OCI images, right? And that'll be the bee's knees, because after ARM 64 is done, then I'm going to say, let's start on RISC-V.
Sounds good.
Speaking as a Go maintainer, once we've sorted out what the changes, if any, to Buildpack TOML dependency structure is going to be, I'm happy to, spend some time talking through the CI or the automation that populates Buildpack TOML. It is going to be the same structure, like topologically the same for all of the non-Java Buildpacks, with a couple of exceptions. So I know you mostly care about Java, but we Go is another build pack that has to be included in the tiny builder, and it would set you in good stead if you do decide to continue pursuing this for other languages. It's not particularly complicated, but it's also way faster to just go through that with someone who already knows it rather than plunk around.
Wonderful. I also maintain a COBOL build pack. I'm just saying.
Are there a lot of COBOL images flying around there?
Funny story. The 2022 New Jersey, and we can't get out our checks, and it's because there's no COBOL developers. We just went and made the COBOL build pack for GNU COBOL. I spent a lot of time in the SourceForge world, and it wasn't friendly. It wasn't a nice place. It was a little scary. I had nerves the whole time I was doing it. But yeah, got it out, and then friends over at Red Hat, not at Red Hat, at IBM, they were like, "Yeah, this is cool. Let's do it. Let's show it. Hey, it's running on OpenShift. It's doing all the things. Yeah, we're running COBOL. Let's go." So I got it out there. I did the first example, and the weirdest thing is when people actually call, or they reach out and like, "Hey, yeah, I'm using your build pack." Yeah. So I don't know how much it gets used. It's nowhere near what the ARM64 one is, but it was that one that gave me the little confidence to do it. So yeah, that one. CloudNativeCOBOL.com takes you right there.
Nice.
Yeah. Java just seems kind of the one that's for me, it's the most known. I don't want to just stop at Java. It's the one that's the most known, and the one that I think I can get the most momentum and movement on. But then yeah, absolutely, the goal is to continue.
Sure.
But that's the one that has kind of the most use cases and experience and community that I can reach out to anyways.
Yeah. Sorry. Are there any other anything else that we'd like to discuss on this? I'm happy that we were able to you're able to put face to names and be able to feel more comfortable to talk to us. We don't bite that often, and so feel free. Next up, we have CNB updates and questions. I don't know that I have any CNB updates. I did verify from last week that there is a new lifecycle release. If that's something that interests you, or you are waiting for a set of features to come out, something worth looking at. But that is not new for this week. So are there any other CNB updates that people would like to give? I guess also be on a lookout for Jericho, your PR into Pack, and we'll all go give it a thumbs up.
Sounds good. Yeah, I was just going to say that there is an RFC in Pack for multi-arch. I'll put a link to it. I don't know if it's already in the working group notes from a previous time, but there's a good discussion that's going on how people are going to use Pack in the multi-arch world. So I think that's helpful for people to look at if they're interested. I'll post it as soon as I find it.
Awesome. Yeah. And then I guess finally, are there any project updates that people would like to give? I guess keeping with the theme that we've done for this month, I guess today is the last day of Hacktober. So if you're really trying to get something across the line, by all means. But yeah.
I guess I have one. Last week we released a new version of Packet, which is still working its way through all of the build packs. But you may recall a couple weeks ago, I had an addendum open to modify the kind of like the structure, or like the characters that are allowed in dependency mappings if you use that feature in build packs, to make it work on both Windows use cases and Kate's use cases. So you can now pass in a dependency mapping with a dash instead of a colon. And that functionality should be available in any build packs that have the latest version of Packet.
Is it a dash or an underscore?
Oh, so true. It's, we changed it to underscore. Good call, not dash.
Awesome. And then finally, we have open mic discussion, question/discussion topics. I see that you posted the COBOL build pack. So I guess if there are interested parties in containerizing their COBOL apps that they have lying around, feel free. But other than that, I don't see anything else on the docket. I'll give just a second for anything else. And if not, thank you all for coming and giving feedback. I'll see y'all next week.
Sounds good. See you.